Okay. Okay.
I'm also going to require.
You can start.
Okay. I'm also going to require for a slideshow. So good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to KW Toastmasters Mentorship Series. Every other week, we provide mentorship on a wide variety of topics. This evening is the beginning of our series of club officers. But as a club officer, everything has to start in one place. And that one place this evening is our mission statement. Now, what is a mission statement, you might say? And I'm going to share my screen here. So what is a mission statement? And why? What is our mission statement? We provide a supportive, in italics, and positive learning experience in which our members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Now, I emphasized part of this mission statement because we're going to talk about what our mission statement is about as a Toastmaster and how we're supposed to support the organization, our memberships, and more importantly, ourselves. Now, our mission statement is tough. Okay, it's tough. It was created in a way that Toastmasters wanted to emphasize the investment they make into people who take that leap of faith into education of Toastmasters. So they crafted this message that sounds professional. It reads pretty elegantly, and it captures the intent of the Toastmasters experience. That Toastmaster experience is what we're going to talk about and what we owe as an officer to the members. Now, when I'm talking about officers, I'm not only talking about an officer at the club level, because in fact, the club level, I believe, is the foundation for the entire organization of Toastmasters. If the club officer does not perform their function, or we support that club officer, the domino effects going up and coming down, but mostly going up. Unfortunately, many of us know too well that at every meeting, we read that Toastmasters mission statement. But what happens after we read the mission statement? Well, it kind of gets put off to the shelf, put off in a shelf, put in a closet somewhere, and we just don't hear about it anymore. We provide, we're supposed to provide this atmosphere, and we just kind of put it off on the side someplace. We're not supposed to just mouth the words at every meeting. We're supposed to live by that mission statement, not just at every meeting, but day to day. The mission statement is not something that you just slap on a brochure and then the brochure gets tossed. And finally, why does it not mean so much to us? Are you proud to be a Toastmaster? I tell you personally, when I convey to people or speak to them about Toastmasters, I'm proud of Toastmasters. I've accomplished a lot from Toastmasters, but that accomplishment doesn't happen because of me. Yes, I'm the one that creates the speeches and presents them, but more importantly, it's my evaluator that brings out the best in me. It's my evaluation that I receive that allows me to grow. So there's a lot that comes out of that Toastmaster mission statement. Catchy phrases are nice, but if we don't live by them, it's just another statement just that's meaningless. Defining ourselves. Now, being a Toastmaster, that mission statement defines us as a member. It defines us in a way that it provides direction of what we're trying to accomplish out of Toastmasters. We're using that Toastmasters curriculum for achievement, all based out of that mission statement, providing that opportunity to obtain leadership and communication skills. The real work in defining our mission statement, it's about bringing that mission statement to life. More than just words. It's something that we need to bring to life, that excitement, that seriousness of obtaining those skills, and presenting and practicing that mission statement and our skills that we've obtained professionally and personally. Now, each and every day, if we practice these skills of communication and leadership, we're going to obtain some type of success, you would think. And there are many examples of success that each and every one of us obtain if we are in that Toastmaster spirit of principles and of supporting our members and living by that mission statement. What are some of those skills that we obtain by Toastmasters and providing that environment? Well, there's clear and coherent speaking. There's attentive listening skills. We obtain listening skills by table topics, being a general evaluator, and more importantly, evaluating speeches. We also obtain leading with integrity. We learn about leadership, but more importantly, leading with integrity. And with these tools that we are obtaining, there are some benefits as well, such as perhaps a promotion at work. You demonstrating these skills, putting them up in the limelight and being noticed, and perhaps getting that promotion. Vocabulary development, speaking more clearly, developing your vocabulary is another skill that we learn at the club level. All of this is at the club level. All of this is about the mission statement. And setting the example for others, whether it's our audience or our club membership. All of these examples of demonstrating leadership, attentive listening, all of those things, as we provide and practice daily, every day, puts us in the limelight, puts us in the forefront of our mission statement. And that mission statement is more than just words. So be aware of that as we talk about this mission statement a little bit. So the mentality of our mission also comes into play. Goal setting. If you're going to define goals, regardless if it's a club officer, area director, division director, as we go up the ladder, if those goals are not in line with the mission statement, there's a good chance you should probably rethink about the goal setting. The goal setting must align with the mission statement. Remember, the mission statement is our foundational purpose. It is the reason why we are here. And those goals and the leadership and the integrity all must align with that mission statement. If you really want to hit home in living by your mission statement, clubs and members should be rewarded for behaviors exemplifying that mission statement, implementation of those goals, whether it's professional or personal, all must align with that mission statement. If it doesn't, then we're really doing a disservice to the mission statement and what we're really trying to live by. So something to consider as we try to live on a daily basis of our mission statement. All in all, if we live by this mission statement, practice it daily, every day, then we're going to be able to accomplish that mission at so many different levels. And it makes life so much easier because we're all going to be on the same page, and that same page is the mission statement. So it's more than just about words. It's more about providing a safe environment. It's more about just providing leadership and communication skills. It's a principle. It's something that we live by as a Toastmaster. It is something that is on display whenever we speak, to include even in private. So fellow Toastmasters, the next time we talk about that mission statement and present it, speak it, we live it, because that's what the Toastmasters experience is all about. Thank you. Open for discussion.
You know something, Robert? I think we all know the mission statement because the first part is we provide a supportive and learning. We are provided a supportive and positive learning experience, because as a Toastmasters as a Toastmasters clubs, we provide the learning, the positive learning experience for everybody, and it's open to everybody. And I think that the most likely is that as members, we learn to become a better leader and public speaker. And that's what our club is. And I would think that the most important thing and I like this, the second part, it says greater and self which members empowered a greater measure, measure and self-confidence and personal growth, and to develop the personal communication and leadership skills, in which members falter that. So that's the only thing that I've tried to memorize, that the mission statement.
Brittany, I think Robert's point is that memorizing it isn't sufficient enough. We actually have to live it. So you constantly hear me say that you're not in this alone. This is my mantra in any training session that I go in. And I always give out my email and I always give out my phone number. And I tell everyone you're not in this alone. And I really mean it. So if you have questions and you need help, then Toastmasters is a safe environment. And you are free to call or text me or email me or however in order to get questions answered. But that's how you produce that supportive and positive learning environment. You put that hand out there and you let everyone know that if they need it, it's there. And then during the meeting, you do all the different roles and you're supportive of everyone who speaks and you give the evaluations and all that kind of stuff that we do during every regular meeting that takes place. And that's all part of building up the support and self-confidence of all the members. Nothing happens with anything in Toastmasters unless it benefits the member. If it's not benefiting the member and it's not building the member up and it's not supporting or being positive for that member, then it's probably not worth doing. And that's something that we should be keeping in our mind.
Right.
And Robert, you were talking a lot about putting them to use in everyday life. So I dumped into the chat room the transferable skills sheet. So if anyone wants to download that and see what you can use what you learn here and move it to your real life when you're outside of Toastmasters, there's the sheet to go look at. Feel free to download it and have some fun.
I would like to expand on your observation about reaching out and getting that help and providing that supportive environment. The supportive environment of, well, living the mission statement, regardless of what role you have, you really have to live it. Because whatever role that whatever capacity you are in, you have to provide the utmost, what do you want to call, bring it to life, regardless of whether you're just a timekeeper or if you're a grammarian. The importance of every role is paramount, not only just for the meeting, but just organization in itself. And I think that, as you indicated, it's every role from the time we speak of the mission statement until the time we close the meeting. Everyone should have what I would call their A game. That's how I look at it, sure, regardless of the role that you have.
I agree with you. But you pointed out that for whatever reason, it's not being done. And personally, if it's not being done, I don't think it's a fault of the person that's not doing it. I think it's a fault of not educating that person in advance. All children, I don't care what age they are, all children will perform to the level of expectation placed upon them. And if someone is new to Toastmasters and they don't know how to do the timer functionality, then there's no way for them to do it properly because they weren't taught. Right? So it takes time, and these things need to be taught and they need to be gone through. And that's what we have a mentorship program for. If we're not using it, then we're hurting ourselves. And if any other club in Toastmasters is not using it, then they're hurting themselves. But everything is always supposed to be geared toward the member. It's always the member's success. Just think of it from a member's point of view, it's an upside down triangle. Right? So everything that starts down here builds and builds and builds and builds and gets bigger and bigger. And if you don't get that foundation piece at the bottom, then anything that the member tries to do up at the top is just going to fall apart because there's no strength being built into it. So it all has to take place. And
I could not agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. And it's as you made clear, it does go up. It does go up, and the success of a district, perhaps even higher, it does come from that club level. It does come up because you build that foundation of whatever leadership skills you develop. You started that development from the time you entered Toastmasters. And so those skills that you've obtained, that education obtained, if you don't put it to use, like you're explaining, then your foundation is already cracked before you even put the first frame up. And I think that you make a good point, and it's not only valid, but I think that foundation of living the mission statement has to start at every meeting. And more importantly, the roles in a Toastmaster club meeting. More than likely, I would say 95% of the time, go on, download this piece of paper and learn how to perform this role. And I would go as far as saying, perhaps at a club level, to provide a mentorship type of speech about a role, and learn more than just what's on a piece of paper, but you learn all the little small details about a role as well, and perhaps even learn from it due to the fact that your interpretation of that role may not be the same amongst all the members.
Well, clearly it's not going to be the same if the training has not been done right. If you don't lay down the tar on the road to smooth it out, then people aren't going to go on the road, right? It's too bumpy. The ruts are ruts, bounce. People aren't going to listen to it, and they're going to go the easiest route possible. So if you want to change that, then it requires different things, right? So this mentorship stuff that we're doing here, there's nothing that says we can't go out there and hold a mentorship meeting specifically on the meeting roles. There's no reason why we can't do it. We should be able to do it. And anytime that we have a new person coming in, they should be going through that stuff. And we should be able to record them, and we should be able to turn around and say, okay, we're going to be doing this one tonight, but if you want to learn about this, you can go here. And then you can give them a link to whatever video you want to see. There's all sorts of different ways of doing things. The point being that you have to support the member. Always. That's the one. You know, they call me Mr. Toastmaster. Everybody should turn around and try to get that name from me. You should try to steal that name from me. Learn everything.
Dr. Lohman, do you have any insight?
I'm kind of like just watching to see where you guys are going to go with this to develop it, you know. So I right now, I'm just trying to figure out where this turns into a mentorship instead of a discussion. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to put together on this. I think that we have it's really a simple mission statement, but for some reason it's difficult, and it's really difficult for people to memorize. I don't know why it's like that. It's just a twist. It was easier to memorize the Pledge of Allegiance than it was to memorize this mission statement. But I think that the one thing is that it says in here, do you know it says in here that we only provide one thing? But it makes it sound like we provide a whole bunch of stuff. But it says we only provide one thing. And a lot of people don't realize it when they're coming in here, is we provide a supportive and positive learning experience. Everything
That's two things.
Huh?
That's two things.
No, those are both adjectives. It's an experience. And so we provide that kind of a learning experience. And so we do that, but then it talks about prepositional phrases in there, and then it gives you a result of what it is. And so what we have to do is, so basically you could take that out. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Yeah, the personal growth.
That's what we do. So the rest of it is what the tools are that we provide during that experience.
Yep.
And so I think that when we take this apart and we see that, is that most people come in here, and how many people wouldn't start your meeting with reading of the membership statement? I mean,
the mission statement.
Mission statement. Most clubs do. Almost all clubs start with that. But I think most people read it and then it's done. And then once we read it, okay, I did my part. Now you guys do your roles, you know. But we don't realize what this is. And once you start to become a leader, once you get elective offices in there, you have to sit there and you start to say, okay, what is our product? Because every organization has to have a product. And so the product is a supportive and positive learning experience that results in greater self-confidence and personal growth. So greater self-confidence and personal growth. We need to hammer that home, but they need to understand why it's there and how it's there. Most people don't understand the importance of a mission statement to begin with. And the mission statement is designed to keep an entity on track. And that's what it's there for. Yeah.
That's great.
And so if we learn this and we figure out what it is and okay, are we providing that learning experience? Are we? And do people know that that's what we're doing? Do they know that? Is that what they come here for? Is that why you join this, so that you can get that learning experience, so that you can have greater self-confidence and personal growth? Then all of a sudden the commitment starts to make sense. Then the mission statement makes sense. I know that in my they were trying to teach us how to develop mission statements way back when I first started chiropractic. But every consultant firm that I went to, what's your mission statement? What's your mission statement? Okay, well, but they couldn't teach me how to do it. What is the product that you provide, and what's the result?
And
so,
you know,
are the people coming for that? Are they coming here for that? If they are you giving that to them? And that's what I think that you need to understand with the mission statement. I think it's really that simple, but it's also that deep.
Absolutely. And some companies pay consultants some major money to develop a mission statement.
Toastmasters paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah, and so I don't know the ins and outs and who they paid or if there was monies involved, but
well, they had staffing that did it. Don't get me wrong, staffing wrote it, but they worked on that you can believe they worked on that for a few weeks to get that come out of the way.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. When they get up there at that level, and I'm sure that you've talked to some of these guys that have been on one of those boards too. When they get on there, they nitpick this stuff. They don't do it just to be tough to get along with. They do it because they want to pick it apart so that they know that when they get in there, that every word is in place on purpose. Sometimes they get a little bit overdone. I think this one might be just a little bit overdone, but I think that the meaning of it all is pretty strong, and I enjoy it. I like it. I think it's a good mission statement. So what they do is they pull these things apart. Every single word is analyzed, and they do it so that when they give it to people like the four of us, that we can sit there and say, oh, okay, I understand that, because the four of us we would argue over this for 3 years. We'd never come up with this. And so that's why they do it, because they are on task. So I think that we need to understand, what is it that we provide? Why are we here?
Exactly. And that's why this particular topic is what I wanted to get that message across. It's more than just words. It's more than just mouthing it and then putting it on the shelf and then proceeding on, moving on to the meeting. That mission statement is actually what's supposed to drive that meeting. That mission statement is supposed to be the information provided to that member? Is that member receiving more than just a safe environment? Is that member receiving the tools that he or she entrusted the membership of that club, the officers of that club? They spent their money to be part, to obtain the certain amount of skill sets in a safe environment. So.
Okay, so let me ask the question this way. So do you think that you have, and this is not an indictment on anybody, this is just a question to ask, okay? Do you think that you have done your job to provide a supportive and positive learning experience so that the members can get empowered to develop these communication and leadership skills? Did you provide that experience? And was that your focus, and was that your mission? Is that what you did when you went to work on this every week? And in the end, did your members come out with greater self-confidence and personal growth?
Well, if you want to break it down from personally, I do my utmost to provide that safe environment. I do.
It doesn't say safe environment.
Well, that environment, to provide that type of environment is what initially you don't want the member to be intimidated. So I try to do that the best as I can by making it comfortable.
So what word do they have in there instead of safe, Robert?
Well,
I'm testing you like you're one of my students, huh? I'm sorry.
Supportive.
Supportive.
Yeah.
Supportive. So it's in there. It's in there in a different way. It's supportive though, because it requires us to do something. Safe means I'm not going to hurt you. Supportive means that I make sure that I do things whatever we can. I do things to make sure that Brittany's feeling supported. And you feel supported. And even Jim, who is Mr. Toastmasters, we got to make him feel supported.
You can make me feel supportive by taking on an officer's role and doing your job. Any one of you. Because if I'm going to be president next year, that means I'm going to be the face of the club.
What if you have 20 members then? What about the 17th member? What do they do?
Yep, they're going to be taking on some other role. They won't be taking on an officer's role. I only need 7 officers. But there'll be other things, right? Because as people are learning, they're learning these skills. They have to have a venue in order to put them to use. So we have to come up with opportunities for them to use those skills. Otherwise, we're not supporting them. We're failing in our mission. So we have to create those opportunities, and we have to allow them to grow, and we have to allow them to go out there and get the experience and do the things that they need to do in order to see that these skills are actually working.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are 3 things that are required to make a legal. I say legal, you know, I'm talking about a legal Toastmasters meeting.
Yes.
Speech, evaluation, and tabletop.
Tabletop, correct.
So there's that. There's what you're talking about. So if you do those things and you teach those things and get better at it so you can teach it better, then you've got what you just described.
Well, you've got the communication skills by doing that, but not the leadership skills. So we can create different things that will develop those leadership skills. For instance, we have membership drives, and we can create a team of people to go out and do membership drives. And someone has to be leading that team, which means you have to put to use the skills that you learn in order to do that.
Yeah, I was just responding to what you said, though. You're right. You're 100% right. I was only responding to what you said. And so that's why I came up with that. So the leadership comes in not just with the leadership roles, but so Brittany, can I ask you a question, Brittany? Where do you think we teach the leadership in a regular meeting?
We'll teach the leadership at the regular meeting. That's a good question, David. You can teach the leadership training at the regular meeting at any other clubs. I mean, any other clubs, anywhere in the District 33. I mean, what can we expect to become a leader in as we serving the office as an officer at our club, which means I'm the secretary-elect for next year. I know Jim is gonna be the president next year, and Robert is serving the officer next year. I know that. And Leslie's gonna be VPE, Vice President of Education. And you know, we all trained as leaders in Toastmasters.
The people that do not hold a regular leadership role, though, that are not elected to office, let's say that we have the perfect club is supposed to be 20 members. The perfect club, right? The perfect club is 20 members, so 7 of those are officers, but we have to teach leadership. So there are 3 primary leadership opportunities. And those 3 primary leadership opportunities are Toastmaster of the meeting, Table Topics Master, and Master Evaluator. Because those are the 3 places where you get up and you actually have to run that portion of the meeting, involve and teach the other people in the meeting.
Yes.
So there are other skills that are being learned as well.
Pardon me?
There are other skills that are being learned as well.
Absolutely.
So you have your agenda and how to follow an agenda, how to make adjustments to the agenda. If adjustments need to be made, how to do timing, how to be concise with your time to stay within time constraints. There's all sorts of different skills that are being learned.
That's true.
But if they're not explained as something that you're learning as a leadership skill, that's a different story. But they're still being learned.
Those are secondary. I consider those to be secondary leadership skills. So for example, most of those were underneath the Master Evaluator or General. Do you call it Master or General?
General Evaluator.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and you're right. But you know, this just goes to prove, though, that dollar for dollar, Toastmasters is the best self-development course in the whole wide world. I really believe that. And I paid a whole bunch of money to go through Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I would not do it again because it costs too darn much money, and I learned more in Toastmasters. I just do. But in order to be the Master Evaluator, you have to do all of those things, Jim, that you just mentioned. So you're working your way up the ladder, then you get the primary leadership where you're actually conducting the meeting as the General Evaluator. And so that's why I call those the 3 primary leadership opportunities in a meeting. So.
Yeah. And you know, something that we I know, being a Toastmaster, you can even conduct the meeting, because I've been in Toastmasters for 8 or 9 years since 2013, because I'm very confident in public speaking, and trying and helps me not to stutter. And I'm involved with 4 clubs. I'm involved with 4 clubs now, and which is basically that that's why I'm developing the leadership and communication skills, and to empower the personal growth and self-confidence. And that really touches my heart, to become a member of the 4 clubs. I know what the setting is that the club meeting settings is Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster, all counter, whether they grammarian, timer, vote counter, speeches, table topics, general evaluator, evaluators, and so on and so on. And that's really what we're trying to learn. That's what we this is a place where you learn how to develop your leadership and communication skills, and that's the result of this club in Toastmasters.
I believe in every role in the club, there, as Jim has mentioned, secondary skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Attentive listening is, I perhaps with the exception of a timer, although a timer has to be on top of their game in controlling, the amount of time per segment, but all require attentive listening, whether you're an evaluator or a grammarian, awe counter. In some ways, in my mind, a grammarian is, you have to be more attentive than perhaps a general evaluator in a lot of ways, because you're actually listening to every word, every syllable, or even in more detail than that, although I think it's a little extreme sometimes when we talk about awe counters.
Yeah.
To me, it's more than like for myself, probably a lot more than that is double starts. In my case, I do a lot of double starts, I feel. So the ahs and so's, unless it's just so obvious, I'm just going repetitive, and ahs and so's. The double starts are my challenge more than anything. But as a grammarian awe counter, you're listening to every syllable that comes out of that individual's mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and only the only thing.
Can you see where the timer could also be part of a learning experience as far as leadership goes?
Yeah. The timer, when the timer goes for the speed, for this, when the time has the speed, has the does the times the speeches, one speaker goes from I know the icebreaker is from 4 to 6 minutes.
Well, that's just how the job is done. Can you see how that role is a leadership role, or how you can learn leadership or display leadership as a timer? So let me give you an example. I'll give you 2 examples, all right?
Uh-huh.
Each is 5 to 7 minutes. And let's say you're doing your job properly. You start at the first effort of communication. You start the timing. At 5, you bring up the green card and you hold it there and you leave it up. You don't take it down, you leave it up. At 6, you bring up yellow, you hold it there and you leave it up. At 7, you put up red and you leave it up. When do you take the red down?
When you go over 30 minutes and you'd be disqualified.
No, you're thinking 30 seconds. You'd never take the red down until they finish.
Okay,
that's number 1. But what happens when they go 30 seconds over? Then they don't qualify for the vote. That's
they don't qualify. They disqualify.
They have to learn that they at that point in time, when you give your timer's report, you might want to say something about this is why we do timing. We do timing so that you learn how to shorten it up when you see the yellow. You need to start learning to shorten everything up. You start teaching those things.
Yeah.
But what if they go 60 seconds over? Then what do you do?
I know when it goes red, you'll say time.
As a timer, you're supposed to hold your speakers accountable. So if they get to a point where they're going way over, you need to interrupt them and tell them, point of order, your time is up, and bring the meeting back into the time constraints.
Now, see, that's leadership. That's leadership right there. Now, so then, and this has happened to me twice, where they say, I understand that my time is up, but this is really important, so I'm going to continue. Then what do you do?
Oh, good question. Well, good question, David.
Yeah, it is a good question, but it's simpler than you think, but it's hard to do the first time.
Sure. Well, what you do is you tell them, well, I'm glad that it's you're passionate about this, but can you bring it up after the meeting? We need to keep the meeting on track.
You have to stop them. You have to say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. You stand up and you say, we're going to return control of the meeting to the Toastmaster. And then you start clapping. Everybody's got different ways to do that. And in our District 33, that's the way the leadership in the past has taught us to do it. You clap them off. And you're supposed to learn, and the people in the room are supposed to learn to do that. Most people in the room they're a little too sensitive and they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But the thing is, we didn't come here to Toastmasters to be a support system to people that are going through something tough. That's not the supportive attitude that they're talking about. We're supporting them by teaching them to be accountable for what they're responsible for. And
right.
And you don't have to be a hard nose to do it. But you do have to be direct and you have to be on top of it. So if they go a minute over, you say, I'm sorry, time is up. And that's how you do it. If they say, well, I think you can see that this is important, so I'm going to continue to go. I'm sorry that that's not within our protocol. So now we're going to have to return control of the meeting to the Toastmaster. And you stand up and you clap them off. And so dignity.
Or you can say Madam Toastmasters or Mr. Toastmaster.
Yeah.
That's what I do after I'm done with my speech.
It's Mr. or Master. And Toastmaster is not a gender. It's not a gender statement. Toastmaster is a non-gender specific noun.
Right.
That happens a lot more frequent than probably we would like to admit.
Because we're not taught. Yeah, we're not taught.
Mm-hmm.
Now the four of us have been taught now, right? Okay, but my point is this though. My point is that even the functionary positions, even the ones like timer where you think nothing's going to happen, is going to be something to where you do exhibit leadership when it's called for, and it's tough sometimes. So when you're the grammarian, what if somebody comes up there? Have any of you guys won the best evaluator as a grammarian in a meeting? Okay, so you can though, because you teach them something, you find out what they're doing. What's the difference between? I have an example here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Compare and contrast. Compare and contrast. What's the difference? And you teach this, but you have to teach it when somebody used it improperly in a speech. So when you did that, you can say, okay, so you use the word compare to something, and I think that you used it improperly. Or you don't say, I think, you have to say, you used it improperly. Let me show you how it's supposed to be used. What's the difference? And you ask the audience, get the audience involved, because this is Toastmasters. What's the difference between compare and contrast? Compare is to how things are alike. Contrast is how they're different.
Yeah, compare is to compare something, and contrast
how they're different.
Is different.
So if you teach that during your time as a grammarian, because you were paying attention and you see these things and you learn to teach those things as you're going along, because you've learned over the years to become better and better with your grammar, and you teach those things, that's leadership. as a grammarian, every functionary position has a high potential to be a leader and a teacher. And so, and if we do those things, everybody's going to remember that. I will bet you that if you didn't already know that, that after tonight, you will never forget that distinction.
Right.
You learned it here in Toastmasters. And so
Right.
if you can show them that while are you controlling that functionary position without going over time, because when you're giving the report, you're supposed to be timed too. You're not supposed to go up there. Well, I'm the grammarian. I'll talk for 5 to 7. No, you won't.
But yeah, to your point, Dr. Luhman, every one of the roles,
Mm-hmm.
you're a presenter. Every one of the roles, you are providing a presentation of some sort, a speaker role.
You're also providing leadership.
Correct.
Which is what this is about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as a general evaluator, I've seen it done, and I took that as something that's useful, is not necessarily evaluating what time we started.
The book says to do that one. That's why we do that, right? Yeah.
But moreover, I evaluate an evaluator. If something stands out in the positive, or perhaps the timer did it, performed an exemplary job, those things need to be brought out, because they really do, because it provides an overall score of the meeting in general. And you bring out the things that we need to improve and the things that we've done well overall. So you're listening from the time good evening or good morning is, the introduction of that meeting. And that's how I look as a general evaluator.
The general evaluator has two basic things that they're evaluating. They're running the evaluation section of the meeting, so they need to evaluate the way an evaluator conducts the evaluation. And then they also need to evaluate the way the meeting was conducted.
Perfect. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Although evaluation, when you evaluate the speech, that's very important. Very important. And I would if the second or the third speaker does not if the second, third, or fourth speaker does not show up, maybe you should get a 2 hot seat speaker, 2 of them. Because at the meeting that I belong to, we used to have a hot seat speaker.
I see that we are at 9:30. So, well, 9:30 my time. So we've been here an hour. I believe we should be closing the meeting now.
Oh, I forgot to evaluate. I forgot to evaluate Robert.
I believe we should be closing the meeting now. So let's go ahead and conduct the adjournment, Robert. And then if you want to stay behind and talk some more afterwards, we can. Robert?
Brittany, the evaluation sheet is on the agenda. Okay.
Yeah, I just put that out.
Okay, awesome. So it was quite an interesting dialogue here, and how just a mission statement is more than just mouthing some words. There's purpose behind it. That there's a great deal, as Dr. Luhman has indicated. You're providing that supportive environment, but the byproduct of that environment that support is the communication and that leadership. So if we don't start with that, the supportive aspect, and the rest is pretty much thrown out the window, because you're not going to achieve anything else, especially if you have a member that isn't confident in that environment. So anyway, I want to thank everyone. I think we had a productive dialogue here. We all seemed to learn a great deal. And Brittany, I'm looking forward to your evaluation and the form. So we're going to go ahead and conclude, and next week we'll have a regularly scheduled meeting. Is there anything else, Jim?
Yeah, so we did not conduct the officer roles and responsibilities tonight. Next mentorship meeting in 2 weeks, we should probably be doing that. So I have slides for that. So if you need me to run that session, I can.
Okay. So that concludes today's mentorship meeting, mentorship series. So I would like to wish everyone a good night, and thank you for your participation. There was a great deal that I've learned, and I'm sure we all have a lot of takeaways. So good night, everyone, and have a great week.